Welcome to Tea Time with Alice. I'm Alice, and today I'm drinking some blood orange rooibos tea. This isn't in season. Blood orange is the December to April season, but I got it recently as a gift and thought it would be fitting for today since I'm going to be talking about spooky and scary things. So today I'm going to be talking about Summerween. Now, if you've ever seen the show Gravity Falls, you may have heard of Summerween. In the show, which is based in a kind of paranormal, spooky town, I think in Oregon, the town loves Halloween so much that they celebrate it twice a year instead of once a year. And once is on Halloween, but the other is in June, late June. Now, it's not June anymore, but some people on YouTube, on BookTube, either took this idea from Gravity Falls or perhaps it existed separately, but they kind of like used that as an inspiration for doing sort of a second Halloween in the summertime. And the way that the book community does this is by reading a bunch of spooky books, spooky horror books in the summertime, and they kind of marathon it in the month of July. So I thought I would do something similar, except instead of reading horror books, I wanted to read a bunch of mysteries and thrillers because I feel like those fit better with summer to me for some reason. I think maybe I like the horror, paranormal, spooky vibes for fall more, or even winter. And I think in the summertime I like the idea of like mysteries and like a bunch of like thrilling chases and like bloodbaths. I don't know. There's something like crime stuff. I feel like it's a nice kind of, it's cozy for the summertime somehow. So I decided I was gonna do that. And I started with a book by Riley Sager called Lock Every Door, which is a mystery thriller about a girl who's really down on her luck and she ends up losing her job and her boyfriend on the same day, and doesn't have any place to go or any money, and she's an orphan, and very contrived, but it's okay because the story is pretty contrived in general, but for the sake of the story, it's fun, and it's important that she's completely down on her luck. She gets this job opportunity to apartment sit for an luxury apartment building in a unit whose previous occupant had died and whose children are fighting over occupancy of the unit. And she gets paid like a ton of money to stay there for 3 months and just has to follow a bunch of rules. And the rules aren't like difficult, they're just kind of weird. Like some of the rules seem like they don't really make sense. But she gets paid a lot of money, she gets to stay in this apartment for free, and she has time to figure out what she's gonna do next. And it seems a little too good to be true, and that's because it is. But I won't say what's actually going on, because that's what the whole book is about, is her figuring out what's actually going on. And then I read Gone Girl, which is one of the more famous, critically acclaimed mystery thrillers of the modern era, and it was very good. And even though I already knew part of the mystery part of it, I had a critical aspect of the story spoiled for me ahead of time, I still thought that it was really well written. They were still things about the story that were revealed to me as I was reading it that I was not expecting. The flow of it definitely, like, I don't know, it was really good. And I read it in like 4 days, even though it's a longer book than I tend to gravitate towards. But yeah, it was really good, really fun. And I also watched the movie that is based on it, which is actually a really good adaptation. I still think the book is like wildly better. There's a lot of things in the book that the movie that just can't be translated, but it was a pretty good movie as well. So then another book that I've been reading is this one, because why not read a book in the summertime that has the word summer in it? It is Summer Night, and this is the 4th book in the Dresden Files series. The Dresden Files is a series of urban fantasy books with sort of a horror, paranormal, mystery element to each of them. It's about a wizard for hire, and it's a world that generally doesn't believe in magic, so magic is very secret underground, but it happens very often, more so than most of the humans in the world are aware of. And Harry Dresden is a wizard who's kind of like dealing with a lot of these issues. And this one is about fairies, but not the like sweet, magical, helpful fairies. They are about the super dangerous, brutal kind of fairies that are gonna mess you up. And it also has mention of vampires. Vampires were the last book, but they are still important to this story, and also has mention of werewolves that were from the 2nd book, but there's a werewolf in here as well. So it's still got a lot of those elements of, you know, horror, paranormal creatures, but it also has fairies and, you know, mystery and violence and all that kind of fun stuff. And I've been reading like 1 book a year from that series about, and figured for this year, for this book, I would read it in the summertime because it has summer in the title. And now I also want to mention, oh, that's right. I was going to mention the book that I just finished today, about half an hour ago. It is I thought it was going to be more of like a mystery thriller, but it actually is more of a dystopian. So it's a young adult book, a historical fiction book about the crimes against humanity, basically, and eventual revolution in Romania in the late 80s. And it's about a teenager who lives in the, you know, communist Romania and ends up getting kind of blackmailed by the government to spy on his neighbors. And there's a lot of, I mean, the actual story is fiction, but there's a lot of truth to the things that were happening in Romania at the time. And it is very, very dystopian with the communist regime. All the houses have to be, or all the apartments have to be the same, have the same layout, the same things inside them. Everything belongs to the government. The government will watch you and listen to you, and you basically can't trust anybody. And this was happening, and then right before the revolution happened against the leaders of the country. So pretty scary in its own way, but in a very realistic way. So that one I just finished today, and it was very good. Although a little different than some of the other more funsies ones that I've been reading. I also want to mention this book. It is a book in French. I don't know that it was written in French or just translated into French, but this particular copy is in French. And I'm not fluent in French, but I am learning. And so I figured I would try to read a little bit of it, since it is a thriller. And I have read a few pages already, and probably picked up about 40% of it. Like I probably knew about 40% of the words and got about 40% of the gist of what was happening, and used, you know, context clues to figure out what was happening. But it's basically about a boy who is abducted as a child, and I think that he ends up, I'm not sure if he is now like looking back on his past as an adult, or if this is just about him as a boy. Some things they still haven't been able to figure out. But I thought it would, since I have it, and it's a thriller, that now would be a good time to kind of dabble in it, although I don't expect to actually finish this entire book anytime soon. So those are the books that I'm reading for Summerween. But I'm also reading other books that are not mysteries and thrillers, because that's how life is. Even though I had planned this video a couple months in advance, I knew what I would be talking about. I knew what I would be wearing. I didn't know what kind of tea I'd be drinking. This is just a last minute decision, but it had the word blood in it, so I figured, why not bring it in? Because I knew everything else about what was going into this video. But this video isn't all that's going on in my life, and I wanted to point that out. So I'm reading other books that aren't mysteries and thrillers. I'm reading a book for book club, I'm reading a romance, and I'm reading another nonfiction. I also didn't know if I was even going to be able to do this video today because I had been sick for several days. And also, even though I am feeling much better today, I normally would film these videos in the house by myself, but today there's actually somebody in the other room because my partner is now sick and had to stay home today. So a lot of things that were planned ended up not going as planned. So I'm here and I'm dressed up and I'm talking about what I wanted to talk about. But I also, just a few days ago, got some news that made me feel even more sickened than actually being sick. I was in a horrible mood and was not at all in the mood to dress up and film something or to talk about anything besides how upset and angry I was. And now I'm feeling a little bit better, but still feel like as much as I want to, you know, spend time outside in the sun and enjoy the summertime, I have another weekend that I couldn't do that because I wasn't feeling well, and trying to figure out what to do instead that still has some positivity to it. So I've been doing art, I've been reading these books that I just talked about and others, and I've been, you know, watching movies. So just wanted to kind of point that out as a little twist that even though I'm here and I'm being creative because it's something I've determined to do, that it can be tough still, even when I don't have to go out and actually talk to anybody in real life in person. Doing these videos can still be tough, but I'm gonna keep doing them as much as I can on the second Sunday of every month for the year of 2024, and I hope that you enjoy for those who watch. And if there are any things you want me to talk about or themes that you can think of, it might be cool to consider doing this more long-term, or something like this more long-term. So that's all I've got for you today, and have a happy Sunday.